everyone, and welcome to iCritic Live. This is the podcast where we talk about entertainment, pop culture, and life in between. I'm your host, Kevin T. Rodriguez, film critic of iCritic.net. Thank you for spending a few minutes of your time here with me today on a topic that is potentially going to be contentious, and just to be on the safe side, I am going to mark this episode with a parental advisory label just in case there are family members who do not necessarily want to have this playing with their kids in the car, although personal opinion, I do not feel the topic is in any way scandalous or anything like that. And in fact, interestingly, while I'm going to be making an argument for why Disney is doing the thing that they are doing, I am actually largely on the side of the people who agree that this isn't necessarily something that needs to be done. I just happen to know why they're doing it. So if you are doing the video podcast of this, you can see that there is a change.org petition that I have on the screen. And for those of you who are not watching the video podcast and are just listening to this in your car and things like that, I'm going to read it, obviously. The petition is called Reinstate the Transgender Storyline in Pixar's Win or Lose. Now, for those of you who do not know what Win or Lose is, it is a TV series that is being produced by Pixar. And by the way, it's probably only going to have one season because Disney found out, especially with the release of Moana 2, that frankly, there's no reason to spend this kind of money on a Disney Plus TV series. You might as well put it in theaters. I am honestly a little surprised that with the success of Moana 2 and Inside Out 2, that Disney didn't mandate that this thing get recut into a movie or two and put them in theaters. I'm very surprised they didn't do that, but you know, whatever. Maybe it's because there's no brand recognition. I don't know. And by the way, the TV series looks pretty good. Follows a junior high baseball team. Obviously, it just looks like it's going to have that Pixar charm. So I'm personally looking forward to seeing it. But apparently, one of the characters was going to be transgendered in this show, and there was going to be a scene that made that very clear and touch upon the anxiety of being a transgendered person, and the scene has been removed. Now, I don't know if it actually got to animation. Judging by the fact that the storyboard version of the scene leaked, but not the finished scene, I am assuming it didn't get to the animation process, which means that the decision to cut this scene happened a long time ago, because this thing is going to premiere in February or something like that, and you're not going to animate this. Well, maybe you can animate this scene that amount of time. I don't know. If there's animators out there, maybe you could tell me how long it would take to animate the scene, but I'm suspecting that this got cut at the storyboard stage. But I could be wrong. If there's any Pixar animators or anyone who has knowledge of this who would like to dispute that, if you are listening to this on a place where there's comments, please leave the comment, let me know, because I'd be very curious. But needless to say, it's been cut. And this petition, and I'm going to read it, this was started by Jeffrey Patrick, a guy who I like. I follow him on X and things like that. He wrote this petition because, he was very upset by this. And he said, on December 17th, 2024, trades revealed that Disney was cutting a major storyline from the upcoming Pixar series for Disney Plus, Win or Lose. The storyline in question revolved around a transgender character. The public response to this decision has been understandably negative and scathing towards Disney. The company's official statement on the matter read, quote, "When it comes to animated content for a younger audience, we recognize that many parents would prefer to discuss certain subjects with their children on their own terms and timeline." Unquote. It shouldn't take a rocket scientist to know that this is blatantly an empty damage control statement that spits in the face of the value of the LGBTQ plus representation in family media. The fact that this decision was made barely a month after Disney did the exact same thing with a transgender-focused episode of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur speaks volumes about their true motivations. So I'm going to discuss what the true motivations are, and I'm also going to note that the Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur episode actually was fully animated and finished, so that is definitely a significantly worse look than this is, in my opinion. Continuing. In the troubling, frightening times we live in, where LGBTQ plus individuals and communities continue to be threatened with persecution and denial of basic human rights, this continued suppression of authentic, meaningful queer storytelling simply cannot be accepted. I'm calling on the Walt Disney Company and its executives to reverse their cowardly, spineless decision to support queer voices for the sake of monetary gain from hateful, bigoted conservatives that they're so afraid of alienating for their foolish reasons. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm going to be honest. I believe for the first I would say 4 paragraphs of this petition, this is a pretty well-written statement. It lays out what the situation is. It gives the company their side, and aside from a potshot about not being a rocket scientist to know that this is blatantly an empty damage control statement, the first 4 paragraphs, I should say, do lay out the situation and why this is important to the person creating the petition. So, good on him. And hey, even though petition is largely ineffective for most things, doing nothing is also not a great thing. So, if you're willing to do something, even if it's just to create a petition, then I applaud you. I do think the petition falters a little bit at the end, where it says, I'm calling on the Walt Disney Company and its executives to reverse their cowardly, spineless decision to suppress queer voices for the sake of monetary gain from hateful, bigoted conservatives that they're so afraid of alienating for their foolish reasons. Now, here's the thing. First of all, I understand the feeling. I do. There are some conservatives who are extremely hateful and bigoted, and I denounce those people. I totally do. Look, whatever issues I may or may not have with the LGBTQ plus community, everyone deserves to be happy. Everyone deserves to have their voice heard. And if you disagree with people, you should disagree respectfully, not hatefully. And there's a lot of conservatives that don't do that. Although I don't think this statement is necessarily disagreeing on a respectful level either. First of all, they're calling the company and the executives cowardly, spineless, which, by the way, that doesn't affect them. In fact, they've got so much money that they could afford to lose probably millions of dollars on pet quarrels if they want. So never create a petition or try to make your voice known by calling names. It never works. And the other thing is that they say from the hateful, bigoted conservatives that they're so afraid of alienating for foolish reasons. Well, what are the foolish reasons? And the foolish reasons are cash, debit cards, and credit cards. Those are the quote-unquote foolish reasons. But that's where you start running into the issues, and that is why the situation is where it is at. And this is the, as Al Gore would say, inconvenient truth no one wants to discuss. Now then, at one point in the petition, it says, in the troubling, frightening times we live in, where LGBTQ plus individuals and communities continue to be threatened with persecution and denial of basic human rights, this continued suppression of authentic, meaningful queer storytelling simply cannot be accepted. Well, here's the thing about Disney. They are not beholden to the LGBTQ plus community. They're not beholden to the Christian community. They're not beholden to the Muslim community. They're not beholden to the YouTubers, who many people mistakenly think that Disney cowers to the YouTubers' words and videos, which if that was the case, there would have been whole series and movies that would have been scrapped long before they even hit the production phase, just because there were hateful and idiotic YouTubers out there. I have a couple in mind. I'm not going to mention them because I don't want to give them any oxygen, but let's just say that they are not so much geeks as they are hateful, and really quite immature too. But Disney, again, their business is in cash, debit cards, credit cards, and maybe gift certificates if you really want to get super technical. That's what they care about. Money. The Disney company is a business. And here's the thing. When you say, don't be cowardly and spineless and kowtow for the sake of monetary gain from hateful, bigoted conservatives that they're so afraid of alienating for foolish reasons. First of all, monetary gain, that's the Disney company's business. They are not going to try to purposefully alienate anyone if they can get monetary gain. That's why Disney films tend to be a little bit more milquetoast than other movie studios or other movies, because when you spend $300 million on an Avengers movie, you don't want to alienate a single person if you can. When you make $300 million for Star Wars and one of the movies has a polarizing reaction, the studio, of course, is going to overcorrect because it's like, well, they are slaves to monetary gain. It doesn't matter that Star Wars The Last Jedi was probably the best Star Wars film ever made, and it set the building blocks for a great future. Enough hardcore fans rejected it. They made about $250 million less this time around than with The Force Awakens, which, in my opinion, significantly overperformed. So they're going to think something's wrong, and they're going to change it. Unfortunately, the art and the messaging always will come second to the money, especially when so much of it is involved. And when you say suppress queer voice for the sake of monetary gain from hateful, bigoted conservatives they're so afraid of alienating for foolish reasons, well, look, I hate to bring politics into this. I try not to do that. Except for that episode about the Trump Bible, I've really not been motivated to talk about politics since there. But look at the election results. Look at the map. Look at those colors. Look at how those conservative voices, and again, they're not all hateful. I'm not even going to go so far as to say most of them are hateful, but there is at least a percentage of them that are very hateful and very vocally so. But look at all that red on that map that you hopefully have been able to pick up. Unless you're driving. If you're driving, you can check this up later. But that's a lot of red. That is a lot of conservative voices who you potentially will not make money from. Now, you look at all that blue, it's like, well, guess what? The blue people, they could just as equally, not buy things. But here's the thing. How often does Disney actually upset the blue side unless they do something like this? It's not often. And are the people who are complaining about this not going to watch Win or Lose? That's a tough decision. I don't know. I don't know if they would not watch it because of this decision. But you know who would definitely not watch it if this scene was kept in? I can guarantee you conservatives, especially, well, not all conservatives, some conservatives, this is a non-issue for them. They do exist, believe it or not. But there are a lot of conservatives who will not watch it. In fact, what's more, they might actually cancel their Disney Plus subscriptions. They might cancel their Disney vacations. The thing is, if there is something that conservatives are really good at, it's making their voices heard through their wallet. And here's the thing. There are liberals out there who will say that they disagree with this thing that Disney does. They disagree with this, and they're going to make a big stink about it on social media. But at the end of the day, they're still going to buy a ticket to Mufasa. They're still going to buy a ticket to Elio. They're still going to go to the Disney parks. They're still going to renew their passes. I don't know any liberal personally, and I include members of my own family, by the way, who very much disagree with this decision, where they said, I am mad and I'm going to complain about it on social media. And I asked, well, are you going to cancel your Disney Plus subscription and let them know that this is the reason why you're canceling your Disney Plus subscription? And the answer is no. Of course they're not going to cancel their Disney Plus subscription. I mean, they've got kids. They need Spidey and Friends, and they need Bluey and Paw Patrol. I know Paw Patrol's on Peacock, but you know what I'm saying. They're not going to inconvenience themselves. They'll make a stink online, but they're not going to hurt Disney financially. They just are not. Whereas conservatives, and look, again, you don't have to agree with them, but you must agree this is a very effective way to get a company to listen to you. Conservatives will cancel Disney Plus. They will refuse to see movies in the theaters. I do not believe that the lesbian kiss in Lightyear is what caused that movie to bomb. But I do know people who, when they heard about that, did choose not to go see the movie. And even though I do not believe having a gay protagonist in Strange World caused that movie to bomb, I actually liked that movie. That was a pretty good movie. But that was definitely a tough sell to a family audience, though. I think that's why it didn't do well. But Disney took a big swing on that one for Disney. Disney had never had a gay character in a movie that was so out in the open. So, he was out. What else can I say? He was out. He was openly hitting on a guy. He was talking about how he had a crush on a guy. The family did not bother to say anything negative. It was like, oh, well, let's talk about this guy and how you can, they were completely supportive. And you know what? It was sweet. It was a sweet little relationship, and how okay, yeah, that's a good representation. And what did Disney get from that? One of their biggest bombs since Treasure Planet. Now, again, I don't believe that is the sole reason, but you have to look at it from Disney's point of view. This is a company that, well, not even a company, they are in a business where Brad Bird, the director of Tomorrowland and The Incredibles, he explained this one time, where he said Hollywood is very narrow in how they see success and stuff. They are so narrow that if there were 5 movies that made a lot of money relatively close to one another, where the main character was wearing a red shirt, Hollywood executives would look at that and say, the reason those movies are doing well is because people want to see movies where the main hero is wearing a red shirt. I mean, you think that's funny? Ho ho! Remember what happened after Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter became hits at the theaters? Massive amounts of fantasy adaptations. The Spiderwick Chronicles, Aragon, movies that failed miserably. And then the Hunger Games did good. Oh, it's time for dystopian young adult movies. Let's get the Divergent series out there. And, and that did okay for a little while. The Maze Runner, that was another one. Did they ever finish the Maze Runner trilogy? I don't know. I saw the first one, never had any interest in watching the rest of them. But Hollywood does this. And so when Disney has 2 animated films in a row, one that has very light LGBTQ plus representation, and the other that has massive LGBTQ plus representation, and both bomb. And by the way, the one that had the massive representation, guess what? That bombed worse. Then yes, even though you and I can disagree with why those movies failed, they're going to look at that and they're going to say, okay, look, we tried. Obviously, the people online who say they will come see our movies, they didn't come see them. So, and we do know, because I believe their research will show, because I met people in real life who decided not to see these movies based on these things being included. They decide, we're not going to do this anymore. That's why, even though I believe that Riley is not gay in Inside Out, I mean, there's so many reasons throughout both the movies on why she's not gay. Basically, that's when Disney starts sending the notes, hey, don't give people the perception that she might be gay. Just don't do it. We don't want it. And then that's why even after the Moon Girl and the Devil Dinosaur speaks, and by the way, these episodes, there might be secondary reasons why, and yes, they probably are related to the election. That's why they're going to pull that episode. And that's why they're going to have this scene cut with Win and Lose. Now, these two episodes also were probably extra problematic because Moon Girl and the Devil Dinosaur, the episode, which I have not seen, by the way. I don't know about the quality of it, but I hear it's out there. That episode deals with a trans kid wanting to play in sports. And the removed storyline from Win or Lose involves a trans kid using the bathroom of the sex not assigned at birth. I think that's a good way to put it. I hope so, folks. I'm not trying to offend. These are especially contentious issues right now. And here's the thing, folks. I guarantee you people would have canceled Disney Plus over them. And look, I'm going to leave that up to you to decide whether or not they should be canceling Disney Plus over those issues. My personal opinion, you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. Ironically, these same people are probably subscribed to Netflix, never consider canceling Netflix, and they have NC-17 rated content. Really, some shows borderlining on X-rated content on their service, and the solution is just not to watch that stuff. It's just not to watch that stuff. I know that Disney Plus, and by the way, maybe Disney will need to eventually rename the platform. I think Disney Plus is going to have to rebrand it to be Hulu or something like that, so that Disney is a part of the platform, not the center of the platform, because there are people, even liberals, who go like, it feels weird that you can see like Fight Club and Nymphomaniac on the Disney Plus platform as long as you activate the Hulu tab. But that's a totally separate subject. If you want to hear a podcast on that, leave a comment. I actually kind of would like to talk about that. But these are contentious issues, and people would cancel them. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to highlight this petition in the video version of this is because if you can see this as the time I'm recording, there are 98 signatures, with the first goal being 100 signatures. Now, I'm all for, having small goals and then working your way up, but I'm going to be perfectly frank. This is a bad start. You're going to need at least minimum 250,000 signatures for this to seriously get Disney to reconsider the decision that they made. At least 250,000 signatures. And even then, again, they're signatures. Anyone can put their name on a signature. In fact, if this petition ends with anything less than 1,000 signatures, I hate to be a negative Nancy, but that basically means that this petition may have actually proved Disney's point in that this was the right decision to make, because the people who are upset about this being cut are in significantly less numbers than the people who are not upset that this is cut. In fact, that number might even include people that are happy that this scene was cut. I tell people, look, if you really truly want to protest, you have to approach it from a capitalist point of view. Disney does not care about social rights. They don't even care about you. The fact that they have just settled a $223 million lawsuit for basically not paying Disneyland cast members their proper wages while their CEO makes $35 million a year just himself shows how little they actually care. But they do care about money. And if you want your voice truly heard, I think this petition, look, it's always nice to get it out there, but you need to do way more than this. You have to orchestrate a boycott of some sort. You have to cancel your Disney Plus subscriptions, and you have to say that the decision to remove this scene and to ban this episode of the show is the reason you are canceling Disney Plus, because you feel Disney Plus shows do not represent you anymore. And you know what? If they had 250,000 people cancel Disney Plus for that reason, then Disney would stop and take notice. Now their bottom line is being affected, and they need to decide if this is the correct course of action to stay on if they are going to continue to make money. But I don't sense a lot of people are going to do that. In fact, I've seen some people who have said that they are not sure that they want to buy tickets to Pixar's next film, Elio, but at the same time, but I want to see the movie, and I want to support the artists, and I want to support original ideas. And it's like, yeah, this is why Disney gets away with it. If you truly are offended and it's like, screw Disney, you have to not give them your money. And some of the good projects might suffer as a result, but if this is that important to you, you have to make your voice heard by the 3 things that matter most to Disney: money, cash, debit cards, and credit cards. That's the language that Disney speaks. So if you want to wonder why Disney's moving away from this, it's because, you know what? They took a couple swings, one of them a very big one. They missed. I can guarantee you, conservatives, those hateful, bigoted people, yeah, maybe they are hateful and bigoted. I'm not here to argue too much that they aren't, although I just know that not all of them are. They spoke Disney's language. I bet you they canceled their Disney Plus accounts. They probably canceled vacations. I bet you they did not show up, and they canceled enough that Disney decided, you know what, this is not a path worth going down anymore. And look, be mad at yourself as well. Look, these are TV shows that we're talking about, but look at Strange World. Massive, massive change for Disney. Their first openly gay protagonist. Guys, I went to see that movie on opening weekend with my wife on IMAX. There were over 300 seats in that auditorium at I think it's the Grove in LA at the AMC there. The one next to the Barnes & Noble that does all of these celebrity signatures. That's where you can actually see me most of the time. I go to a lot of those. And there were probably 7 people aside from me and my wife there at most. Like, where is your financial support when Disney actually does the thing that you ask them to do? You can't actually say, these things mean so much to me, and then you don't fork over the money to show how much they mean. I guarantee you, if Strange World had made even $300 million, I think it still would have lost some money. But that would have been a sign that having a gay character did not actually mean that the box office would be hurt that much. They might have to, budget more wisely next time, but the door would be open. But for it to fail the way that it did, and we're talking about just a gay person, someone that even a lot of conservatives have just kind of come around to, like, okay, yeah, being gay, not that big of a deal. But now you're talking about trans characters, and these 2 episodes deal with 2 of the most sensitive topics in America right now. Well, shoot. What are the people who disagree with these stances going to do? They resoundingly rejected these other 2 movies, and those were tame. Like, folks, you have to support the projects that matter to you. So if you want to know why Disney is detransitioning, it's because, first of all, those hateful, bigoted conservatives, they speak Disney's language, money. And obviously, the liberal viewers who would appreciate this, they're probably not spending as much. They're probably not as willing to boycott Disney probably knows this, and so they don't care. And that's what's going on. So anyway, that's where we are going to end this topic. I really hope that this lost episode gets released legally at some point, and it would be nice if the scene got animated, because my personal opinion on these things aside, I try to be as political and religiously agnostic as possible. The creators did want to tell these stories, and I feel these stories should be told. At the end of the day, though, it's a business, and if you want these stories to be told to you, you have to financially support, maybe even financially deprive the companies who are not doing what you want them to do. And the thing is, as sad as it is, as unfair as it is, whoever spends the most money will ultimately have their voice heard the most for these situations. So anyway, that's where we're going to end this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I don't know if this is going to be the last episode before the new year. We might have one more episode before the new year, but if we don't, I will talk to you next year, and I'll see you at the movies. And by the way, take care of one another and love one another. Hey, you made it to the end. Thank you so much for making it to the end. Just a few more things. First of all, the names that you see on the screen, these are our Patreon and YouTube member supporters, and I thank each and every one of them. Their support helps me make exclusive videos for Patreon and YouTube members, as well as keep the channel running, and of course is just of huge kindness to me. Also, don't forget to check out the iCritic-led podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, Deezer, whatever podcasting service you listen to, it is there. We definitely want to see you there. And hey, there's also other videos that you can check out. So, check out these other channels, these other videos, especially that one. I think that's a really good one.